Welcome back, Truth Seeker. Just thinking more about why the information we teach over here, which is relatively basic for an intelligent person, doesn't resonate with more people. It becomes more explained when you start to look at the data for the average American, both adults and children. And you might recall that hit TV show from a decade or so ago, Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader? And what you learned episode after episode was the average adult was not smarter than a fifth grader. A lot of people tend to not be that smart when they're in school, and then they get even dumber after they leave because they don't really do anything to learn or much of anything rather than entertainment, alcoholism, drugs, just living a life for consumerism and entertainment. And anyway, it's been a big viral topic about how difficult things are becoming in classrooms and how more and more teachers are quitting at younger and younger ages and not even finishing their first year as a teacher. And you see all these videos online, teachers explaining how their students really cannot read or stay focused or comprehend anything. And again, you think about what that means for the trajectory of the nation. But yeah, I was looking at the last time they did the major test for the nation, and it showed that reading comprehension, there were 0 states that showed a net improvement since the last major test, and there were 30 that showed a reduction. So 30 states went downwards, and about 20, there was no real difference. So no improvement, but a sign of things going backwards. So then I was looking at what the scores were. And, the scores of these numbers 217, 214, 217, 213, 219, 218. So then the question becomes, well, what does that mean? What do those scores mean? And it's part of an international reading scale where this is the system level one, or well, below level one, level two, level three. So the average American is what is considered level one, which is low literacy. They can identify basic words and they can read paragraphs, but they struggle with complex texts. And again, you listen to teachers talking about what's going on in the classroom. A lot of reports that really even simple instructions written down on the page cannot be comprehended. A lot of teachers showing people's written answers, and what they wrote back for the answer was just they rewrote the question because it was the only thing they could think to respond with. They couldn't actually answer the question, so they just write back down what's already written for the instructions. A lot of videos like this, and sadly, a more and more common story. And it makes someone like yours truly say, man, if we're trying to be a help to the world, is it time to just figure out how to remotivate young people to achieve, for example, achieve beyond level one of literacy? Because yeah, I think this really is a major part of the problem for why the work we're doing over here is not resonating and connecting with people. It couldn't even possibly happen because they're not on the level. As sad as that is to say, because this stuff really is elementary. And I know, based on where I was, say as a third grader, I would have loved what I'm teaching about over here as a third grader. I know I would have understood it as a third grader. I remember third grade specifically. It was the year I really liked starting to go to the library and check out a book and read. And my teacher was complimenting me on how fast I was learning my times table. So I'm just thinking the skills I had at third grade, it would have been enough to understand what I'm teaching now. But the data shows the average fourth grader right now is about where a first grader should be. The average fourth grader in the United States is about where a first grader should be. And then what the data also shows, a lot of people aren't achieving much beyond that point at all in the current education system, as crazy as that is. So, yeah, to people in this community, do you read to your children? Because apparently that's a big problem, that not many parents read to their children anymore. And I think, like a lot of people in our society, the screens have taken over, even for the adults. It's like I say, being at the gym now. Uh, I'd been out of the gym since I blew out my shoulder the weekend before I turned 30. And getting so old, I always have to think back about what year that was now. Born in 83, must have turned 30 in 2013. So I blew out my shoulder July of 2013, right before I turned 30 years old. I didn't go back to the gym until August of last year. And yeah, smartphones were out in 2013, but I don't remember there being an epidemic of people staring at their phones in the gym in 2013. I don't remember that being a thing at all. Now I see everyone staring at their phone in the gym. And like I said, there's people that will literally sit at a machine, hardly do any exercise there, and they'll sit at it for 30 minutes, mostly staring at their phone. And you notice it because you're like, God, are they going to get off the machine? They're not even using the damn thing. There's only one of them in the whole building. And then it's hard to even approach people or say anything because everyone has earbuds on or headphones on, which, I mean, headphones have been around, but now we are a society where almost everybody has earbuds in at all times. I think when I was in the gym in 2013, maybe half the people in the gym had headphones on. Now almost everyone does. So it's hard to communicate with anybody. And to date, I haven't gone up to anybody who I saw camping a machine and be like, hey, can you get off the machine because I want to work out? Sometimes I'm tempted to, but there's always something else to go do, so I'll just go work out. But it's just, you see it all the time now. It's like, okay, gym etiquette, not sit at the machine doing nothing for 30 minutes staring at your phone? I mean, like, what? Can't you go home and do that? I mean, but yeah, I imagine that this is also the case for a lot of parents at home. Instead of playing with their children, interacting with their children, teaching their children things, um, they're on their phone. They're staring at their phone, and even a little example. We go to the park now all the time. I took over child care for my daughter because the people we had watching my daughter. They said it was too much for him, even though it was so easy to take care of sweet little Ruby. But I've been taking care of her for the last 3 weeks. So every day we make a point to go to the park. We go to the library every single day. There's been one day we didn't go because it was pouring rain all day that day after a nice little bout of weather modification. But we did still go to the library that day, but we didn't go to the park. But anyway, being at the park regularly, you see some of the same kids. And there's this little girl that likes when she sees Ruby there. She's a little bit older than Ruby. She's 4 years old, and she likes to act like she's Ruby's big sister, and Ruby likes to follow her around. She's always there with her aunt, and her aunt doesn't speak English. But today she had a piece of chalk, and she wanted me to draw pictures with the chalk. She kept saying, "Can you draw this? Can you draw that?" And so I would actually draw it for her, and Ruby was entertained. And then I'd ask her to do it. And she's like, I don't know how to do that. But then you just encourage her and you say, well, look what I just did here. Just follow my steps. We'll do it. So she wanted to draw a bird. So, at first I just started with a circle for the head and then drew a beak. And then I gave back to her and I said, draw a circle and a beak. And then she followed the step. Boom, perfectly. And next thing she wanted to draw a cat. And I said, now hold on. I said, you're wearing Hello Kitty. You know what a cat looks like. Try to draw Hello Kitty's head. And, she was saying she couldn't do it. But I said, no, try it. Try to draw Hello Kitty. She drew a pretty good Hello Kitty on her first shot with the chalk. And I think just, a lot of things is just effort. And, just within 15 minutes, we learned to draw a bird and a cat. And she didn't think she could. And apparently nobody in her life up to that point had shown her how to draw a bird or a cat. And really, it's the same thing in our classrooms, too. A lot of teachers just don't put in the effort that really is necessary to reach these students or push them or get them to where they need to be. And as sad as that is to say, I know that from firsthand experience from working in the classrooms. But yeah, for any parents in our community, make sure your child doesn't become part of this problem. Because things have been bad in this country for a long time. The data shows that it's a lot worse right now, but I still remember my freshman year of college. I thought going to college, I was going to be around a new class of individuals. And granted, I did go to Arizona State University. It's not like I went to Harvard or something, but to be fair, Arizona State had a good accounting program. I got a scholarship for their accounting program. It was one of the top 20 accounting programs in the nation. So it was one of their top programs at the university. Got a scholarship. It's part of the reason I went there. But I still remember my freshman year English class. It's just like high school. You write a paper, and then you help edit your peer's paper, and then 8 weeks into the class, you've probably helped peer edit at least 10 or 12 other students' papers, just doing assignments. And literally every single time I saw my classmates' work, I was just in disbelief. I was like, how are they in college? I mean, this is embarrassing. I know this isn't, like I said, I know it's not Harvard, but good God, it's college. Just horrible writing, just no sentence structure, just horrible. And I was just in disbelief. I was like, God, these people are in college? This is college? And granted, I was in Arizona, and Arizona is one of the lower performing states for education. Uh, Washington State, where I spent most of my early youth, actually has one of the better education systems. State might be horrible on almost every other level, but in terms of education, it's actually ranked better. Not that I went to the better public schools in Washington State, but yeah. Again, I mean, how can we teach something like what we're teaching if we have a society of people that can't even read, that don't even understand language? And you probably start to look at the math, the math capabilities. It's probably not too far off from the reading capabilities. So even as elementary as all of this is, consider that the average American, looks like best case scenario, might be on the level of where a third grader is supposed to be. But then the data shows that the average third grader is not where they're supposed to be. So yeah, I'm debating on, I mean, I do think this topic is really important to teach, and I really do think it has a lot of power, and it's unfortunate that more people don't know about it. But between being shadow bound and essentially can't get out of the electronic doghouse, and we all know what would happen if I did break out of the doghouse, the channel would be deleted in 5 seconds. Kind of like what happened with the Charlie Kirk video, right? The day Charlie Kirk died, we finally had a video that had tens of thousands of views. It was up to 70,000 views within a few hours, and then it got taken down for hate speech, even though there was zero hate speech. The video was titled, "Let's Create a Real Turning Point USA." And I talked about how, Turning Point USA is getting people to vote for Republicans, which is one wing of the same bird, the corrupt U.S. political system. And I was saying, we need a real turning point in the country. Talking about things like this. Our children are super unhealthy. They're not receiving the level of education they deserve. A million things, really, the basic things that nobody really ever talks about in the political world need to be addressed in this country. And yeah, I mean, that's what a real turning point would be, not voting for a political party. But yeah, that video got taken down for hate speech, which was total BS. And I'm pretty sure it's because it was, they're like, hey, how did this channel break out of the algorithm? Every video is supposed to get 1,000 views. Delete. So anyway, let me open up the link. What do you guys think? Should I dedicate my time to something else? Should I figure out how to create a channel that might help motivate young people to want to achieve and learn? Because I got to tell you, just being out today on the playground, teaching this little girl how to draw birds and cats, and how excited she was about that. It really, that's why I liked teaching, and that's why I miss teaching too. Working with children and seeing them learn a new skill and how proud they are of themselves and the level of accomplishment. It's super rewarding. And yeah, if I could snap my fingers right now and be an instant billionaire, I would definitely just figure out how to open up a chain of schools for parents seeking alternatives for their children. Just yesterday when I was at the park, I overheard parents chattering about how disappointing the teachers are at the middle school in this town, and they grew up in this town. I was eavesdropping because the conversation piqued my interest, but they were making the point that all the same teachers are still there that when they were in middle school, and their kids look like they're around probably 6, 7, 8 years old. So parents are probably around 30. So same teachers there for going on 20 years. And I hear them saying, yeah, they're just as bad as they used to be. They're just older and more bitter. And I mean, truly, I still remember my second grade teacher, Mrs. Hanson. It was the first year I went to public school. Again, my parents sent me to Catholic school for kindergarten and first grade because they had all day care, which worked for their schedule since they worked early in the morning till early in the evening. And to be honest, as much as I harp on about the Catholic Church and the Jesuits, my kindergarten and first grade was beautiful. That school only had nuns, really sweet ladies, and yeah, I enjoyed. I still remember the teachers' names. Miss Jenny was my kindergarten teacher, and Miss Bird was my first grade teacher, and I just remember they were great. I look forward to going to school every day. Second grade public school, Mrs. Hanson, this old lady, and I think it was the second day of school. She told me I smelled terrible. And she just always seemed just so mean and bitter. And as a kid, I didn't understand because my parents bathed me. I took a bath every day. So I never heard anybody tell me I smelled terrible. But yeah, that was the kind of teacher I had. And a lot of people have shitty teachers in the public school system. And that's what these parents were harping on about the other day, too. And again, why do miserable teachers stay in the school system? Because that's their career path and they want to finish and get their retirement. So they get their retirement. That's the real reason they're in the classroom, not because they want to help students achieve. And again, a lot of adults in the classroom know that the system's bad and things are a mess, and they feel like they feel totally hopeless, so they don't even really care anymore. I mean, it was that way when I was teaching in school over a decade ago. All right, let me get Gematria 32 in here, and maybe we've got some other people that are interested in contributing to the conversation. What's up, Gematria 32?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, yeah, you should just focus on your daughter, teach your daughter, and just write another book and do Patreon, and that's it.
Yeah. Write another book though. People can't even read. We're learning
for your community, for us.
You know? I have a feeling that the current people who still watch the videos, if I put out another book, it might not even sell 100 copies.
How many pages you think you could write in an hour?
I don't know. Depends. Some hours I really crank it out. Sometimes in an hour I might only get one page done. Just depends on what mode I'm in.
I remember you was cranking out like 20 pages in an hour before.
Well, not an hour, but there were days where I just was really in the zone and I probably wrote 40 pages in a day.
Yeah, I remember that. That would be dope, man, if you could just put together like a little 150-page book.
I really could just I could just put out the book of all the 201 stuff that's compiled. I could, but...
And touch it up. Yeah, touch it up and add some more stuff, you know? You got so many articles that you could write another book easily.
You know, when I'm at I just realized most books for children are kind of dumb. I almost want to just start making books for children.
Yeah, so like, yeah, teach Ruby, write a book, and Patreon. Word. Yeah.
Patreon's where the support is financially, obviously, but yeah, I totally hear what you're saying. I will get back to putting out books at some point, but they probably will be books more aimed at children. And look, I mean, books for children actually might reach the average person where their literacy rate is. So.
Back in, how many books you think Manly P. Hall sold his first year?
I don't know.
A very, very low amount.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Probably lower than you. Probably lower than the amount you sold.
Yeah.
Back then,
there
was
he didn't have the advantage of the internet, and there's way more people living today. So I mean, we got advantages here.
Exactly, but he still cranked them out, and look at the impact they have now. So I mean, you know, you can't stop writing, Zach. You're a writer. You're a teacher, so. You know,
I will write more books. Right now, it's extra hard because there just isn't enough hours in the day. But
take an hour, 1 hour, half hour, and just do it, man. For real, I'm begging you, write the book.
At age 43, I have to get out a book for the Gematria code, right? Because book equals 43. So I turned 43 pretty soon. So I'll put out a book by the time I'm done being 43. That's the deal. There'll be a book out before 43 is over.
I'll hold you to it. All right.
All right. All right. I got about a year.
Peace. All right.
Later. How many people in the chat have read either of my books or even a part of one of my books? Drop a 1 if you have, and some people will just say they have and they haven't. A 2 if not, and be honest. Let's just see. People in the chat today. Who's read anything in either of the books I wrote? Well, I guess that might make sense. That the only people who are still watching the channel are the most dedicated. So, yeah, about the again, almost every video, the analytics are the exact same. It says 300 subscribers watch the video. So I don't know if just YouTube makes that number up every time, or if that's really just how many dedicated people there are on this channel. Just 300 people from the channel that still watch the channel. Maybe all 300 of you are also the ones who've read the books, but yeah, it would be a biased audience. Those of you guys who are still here are some of the only ones that are still here. I mean, that's just the reality. Almost everybody else, every 6 months, they'll be like, "Oh, I forgot about your channel. I just got a notification today." It's just like, it's crazy how easy it is for YouTube to just deter everyone from your channel. Just make sure nobody gets a notification. I appreciate that open up. Yeah, it can be hard to get other people to read a book. It definitely can. So, again, for people who don't know, my first book, it does have my name next to it, but I'm not actually selling it. Anne is selling it. Anne in Canada is selling it. She's breaking my first book up into volumes and just putting them out as she can. And I told her she can keep all the proceeds. So yeah, it might be my name and my book, but it's not me doing that. I gave her permission to do it because at the end of the day, I really did the work just to get it out there. And I've given other people permission to sell my books before too. So it's not the first time I did it. One guy was selling my ebooks on eBay just to get them out there. And yeah, so if you guys don't know what we're talking about here, just to be clear, I'll put it up on the screen. So if you buy this book, I think the way it is I get $2 per sale. So this book it's my book, and Book Baby is the one that put it up on Amazon and the other places it's for sale. But if you just search my name, Zachary K. Hubbard, these ones, letters and numbers, these are the ones that Anne is breaking up into volumes. And I don't think she controls the price. I don't know that for sure, if she controls the price or not. If she might have left it up to Amazon, and then Amazon controls the price, but yeah, I honestly don't know how the pricing works, because I do see that the price has gone up for a lot of these volumes. They started out cheaper, so I'm guessing Amazon is doing that with inflation, because I want to say when she first put them up here, they were $3, $4 per volume. But yeah, my first book is almost 800 pages long, so that's why she's breaking it up into smaller sections. And I think she will. I know out of the 4 volumes she has out there, it's not the complete book yet. There's still a little bit left. So, and then if you don't want it in physical copy, I do sell them on my website, just as ebooks at GematriaEffect.news under the ebooks tab. Yeah. You know, again, it just, anybody who has this knowledge just sees the world through a different lens, and everyone who denies it, it's just because they're not paying attention. This stuff happens every day, you guys. Every day. The Spurs last night, steal game 1 versus the Thunder, scoring 122, and their star player scores 41. What's San Antonio equal? With the alphabetic order, 122. With the alphabetic order and numerology, 41. That's why, oh my God, I would love to see the experiment of getting to teach this to children like this, and in the conspiratorial way, and get them to say, hey, kids, do you think the game is rigged? How about pay attention to the NBA scores tonight, tomorrow night? Well, you know what? We'll do it all throughout the rest of the school year, and we'll see how many times we come into class and talk about things just like this. Or is it all just one big coincidence? What a fun discussion. And of course, kids are at home watching basketball games. You know, I bet you kids in almost every classroom in America probably have a Wembanyama jersey. But there's at least one kid almost every class that has a Wembanyama jersey, one of the biggest stars in the sport right now, becoming the new face of the league as time goes on. More and more Wemby jerseys. Again, just night after night, you watch this stuff. It's just like that. Here's Ann. More Wemby jerseys. Is it the real Ann? Again, just night after night, you watch this stuff. It's just like I'm getting feedback. Here's Ann. You got to mute the video. Ann never come on the StreamYard before. I'm getting feedback. And you got to get rid of the YouTube video.
I got to close your video.
You got to close the YouTube video and just be in StreamYard. You there? Yeah, if you guys ever come on, if you ever join the show, you close the YouTube video when you join because you're essentially in the YouTube broadcast once you join the StreamYard. Let's see. She might have closed herself all the way out.
Says I'm in the show.
You're in the show?
That's what it says. Does the audience hear me?
They do.
Okay. And you hear me too, to that fact? Yeah. Okay.
But I'm getting major feedback. But just go ahead.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay, I closed the YouTube on this end. So yeah, I was thinking about your question, and about your book. So about your question about what you should be doing, a couple of things come to mind. You mentioned how when you're at the park, you really enjoyed seeing the other children, and that you got into teaching because you really enjoyed educating children and seeing them blossom and grow. And you've made a difference in many children's lives. So it wouldn't be that far-fetched for you to get back into teaching if you decided to start up your own school. And that's not impossible to do. You can look at the legislations where you're at and think about starting your own charter or private school. And then you certainly know how to write up a curriculum, so you can do that. And I think about all of us, like all of us here, like in the chat and who are listening, you have been in the community for many years. I've been here like over 8 years, like it's a long time. But there are many different aspects to my life like there is for everybody else. And I don't have to stop one thing to take on something else. And I don't know that, when you first started this in 2013, opening up a YouTube channel and starting to talk about Gematria on YouTube, is because you found some information that you knew that the world needed to have. And it didn't have anything to do with Patreon, like you said, it had nothing to do with money. It was just information that was kept from the public and it shouldn't have been, and we need to know about it. So I think that's still your main drive. And your channel still can continue like that. It doesn't need to be interrupted or stopped. And yes, you do have family responsibilities now that maybe you didn't have in 2013, but you're also an older, wiser, bigger person. So you can adapt. And you can include all of that. And you could still be looking at the idea of possibly starting your own Gematria Academy or a school for children where you can write the curriculum and continue with with your Patreon, because that's part of your business model, and your books. Now your books are great, and they don't have to cost you anything. Like I put them up I put up that first one in volumes on KDP, and that doesn't cost a thing. It costs me to get it formatted. It costs me to get the cover done because I'm not very techie like that. But to actually get it up, it doesn't cost anything. So if you wanted to write another book and open up a KDP account, it wouldn't cost you to do that part. Yes, of course, the most expensive is advertising and getting the word out there. And yes, Amazon KDP sets the price, though they give us a minimum. And when I put out your volumes initially a few years ago, the minimum was lower. And since the last year or two, it may have been June of 24 or 25, when they increased the minimums. So your books are all basically within, I could easily say 20 cents of the minimum, but I don't control that minimum. And Amazon takes half the royalties. So, I get pennies per copy. I don't really get much money. I'm not doing it for the money. I have my own books out, but I'm doing it because your work needs to get out there. And so that's why I'm putting it out there in volumes. And, it's going to the fifth volume should be coming out this year. That's the way I've kind of set up my schedule. So you can do your little 201 book, and you can get it out there, and you can put it up, and you can tell us about it, and then you can decide whether or not you want to, advertise it more formally, bring it to the forefront. And I know that the way you've done it in the past with Book Baby or whatever that agency was, it did cost you some things, but it doesn't have to cost you when you just put it up on KDP. So I just wanted to offer that to you and to the community, that you diversify, but you also expand and you grow, and you can you can meet all of those needs. And just like Gematria 32 was saying, you kind of set away a certain amount of time where you can dedicate some to each of those different ideas and things in your life. Anyway, don't know if you can still respond or anything, but I'm going to have to go, and maybe there's other people who'd like to get on and offer some suggestions too. All right, take care. Bye-bye.
All right, thanks, Dan.
What was that?
Okay. Yeah, it was hard for me to talk while she's talking just because it's instant feedback. So, but yeah, that's Ann. And some of you guys are asking, did she come out to New York? Yeah, and she also got me the interview with the Quite Frankly guy. I'm pretty sure I won't be going back on there. Yeah, quite frankly, it just reminds me of what's wrong with the world. But and sadly, I mean, he gets the lesson the next day on exactly what we talked about, which he denied. And does it change his mind at all? Not one bit, because he's closed off, closed-minded. The Johnny Cerrucci guy who just made fun of on his stream, he's like, Zach thinks basketball games are rigged. How could they be rigged? Did you hear his argument? How could they be rigged when sometimes they score multiple times in a matter of seconds? Like, what? How's that even an argument? How's that even an argument? How about pay attention to what goes on night after night in this league? Things just like this. This isn't some anomaly. This is just another day of the NBA by the numbers. San Antonio 122. San Antonio with numerology 41. They win with 122, and their star player scores 41. I can't tell you how many times he's taken advantage of that. 41 in rigged Spurs games. Number that we seem like we talk about every other game with them. It's on the board one way or the other. So, but yeah, I really, well, even what she just said is that is what I'm thinking about all the time now is, in a few years, Sweet Girl's going to be, or probably more like 4 years now, but yeah, about 4 years from now, Sweet Girl's going to be expected to be in school. Certainly not putting her in the public school system. Private school, isn't necessarily that much better. Better in public school, but I keep thinking I just want her to go to my school. I could homeschool, but I really just kind of want to start a school. And the thing is, I know that starting a school is quite expensive here in Washington State. I could look into what it is in other states. Maybe there are some states where it's less red tape and less expense, but it really is something that I'm thinking a lot about trying to figure out how to do. Start small and grow the school. But yeah, just like even overhearing those parents yesterday talk about how terrible the school is, and they wish one of the moms said, if I could afford to stay home, I would homeschool right now. And I wish I could have said, hey, I got a school. Let me tell you about our school and what's going on over there. But I can't do that because I don't have a school right now. So anyway, Chris from Vegas. Chris from Vegas. I'm going to bring him on, you guys. Let me see if it's the real Chris from Vegas. Is it the real Chris from Vegas? I don't think it is because he'd be talking. Chris from Vegas. Hello. Okay. I miss Chris from Vegas's voice. But yeah, I really do want to figure out how to start school. And I'm thinking maybe the way is start writing some children's books, and maybe just maybe one way or another they go viral. Because I get at the library all the time now, and I just feel like a lot of books are so silly. They're just so silly. They don't seem to have enough moral to them. I don't know. I just, we pick up books and we read books, and I'm just thinking, I don't know, these books are missing something. Somehow, some way, we got to start connecting bigger ideas at younger ages. And yeah, actually, I think the more I think about it, the more teaching this knowledge in a fun way, the letter and number thing, I think it could generate more interest in reading and more interest in math. So I don't know. I might start dedicating a lot more time to that. And I might just try and just start a whole new channel because, I mean, you guys, let's face the facts on this channel. Something's been done that like no video can escape. Like every video is in a cage. And as time goes on, you see how the cage keeps getting smaller and smaller because the views get worse and worse as time goes on. And again, it was just like when the Charlie Kirk thing happened, I had 3 videos. The first one got the most viewership. 2 after that got decent viewership. They all got taken down. They all got deleted for hate speech. The one thing that was nice, though, is they didn't suspend me. Once upon a time, YouTube would always suspend you when they did that. They just took down the videos, but didn't suspend the channel. But yeah, all 3 videos that got decent viewership, all taken down. And then there hasn't, since then, the viewership's been worse. Every video has gotten worse viewership. And that was last September now. I mean, we're coming up on the 1-year anniversary of that. I don't like the idea of teaching kids online. I don't like that. It's just, I don't like the screen thing. I like being in person. There's just something better about being in person. The whole virtual learning thing, it's lacking. Leopard Messiah, I read your comment. I don't think that's true. I don't think it's true. Like I said, when I was younger and I lived in Seattle, I met these 2 girls that were roommates that were both homeschooled, and they weren't homely or lacking in any way. They seemed, honestly, maybe they just seemed better. They weren't lacking social skills or life experience. So I think that, if you're homeschooled, you're going to be out of the loop or whatever, or lacking. I don't think it's true necessarily. I mean, it could be in different circumstances, but it doesn't have to be that way. And it's just like, my daughter, if I was homeschooling her, once we're done with school, we can go out in the world and she's at the park and interacting with other kids and playing. And I mean, look at what they do now in the public school system. They don't even give kids recess. They've taken away recess in a lot of schools, which is where kids learn to play and interact with each other. Now they're expected to be sitting down in their desk all day, taking orders from teacher. So. But yeah, what you said, Leopard Messiah, once upon a time, I would have said, yeah, it had to be that way. I had the same stereotype of kids who were homeschooled. I thought they must just be out of touch. But I know now from experience that it definitely doesn't have to be that way. Okay. I know my daughter's going to get up any minute. If we don't have anybody else that wants to add to this conversation, we can wrap it up. I honestly didn't even feel like decoding news today. I didn't feel like decoding any of it. It's just so dumb. Everything's so dumb. The president of the United States said, we'll go to war in 2 or 3 days if no deal's reached. I need an art of the deal, or we're going back to war in 2 or maybe 3 days. Just like, how dumb is all this stuff? Like, who says things like that? 2, maybe 3 for war. It's a joke. What's up? Open up.
What's going on, Zach?
What's up, man?
Yeah, just regarding the topic, I think the key to getting this work out there, you've said before, is in person and with the children, because we know adults are pretty much set in their ways. And I just did like a quick Google search regarding the most crucial years for human development. And you probably already know this, but it's between birth and the age of 5. That's where the brain grows the most, 90% of its adult size. And that's where the foundational connections are made for problem solving, language development, emotions. And as we know, like the cartoons today and the things today that are taught in school are pretty much used to build that foundation for children to become what are today's adults, which are pretty much useless or only useful for the system that was built to continue what we see.
Yeah.
And then like I'm also continuing to read, the ages 6 through 12 are also foundational, which, you know, right before puberty and adolescence. And most kids are in public schools, quote unquote learning what they're teaching, which is usually useless information. And like, we know your story as a teacher and why you were let go as a teacher because of what you were teaching. And another guy who was a teacher, I don't remember his name, but I remember his story about how he was let go as a teacher for teaching outside of the curriculum as well. So we know that the system is built to produce children who become useless adults who are only useful to continue the system that we live in. So, and then about online, I agree with you. Like, it's good to come online and share, but as we know, like, the base of the community is just the same people. It doesn't grow exponentially each day. I think the only big ways that it grows online is when there's a big event, like the Charlie Kirk thing, like you said, 9/11, things like that give it a little boost. But as you know, let me roll the windows up. As you know, it gets shut down quickly, so there's no real time to, you know, continue to grow from that. So I think the biggest thing is when time allows to get back out in person. I know it's pretty much impossible now with your daughter, and obviously that's understandable because you want to be part of her development in the right way to produce better people in this society. But yeah, I think once she gets older and you guys are in a better place, we got to start getting out in person. And we don't have to wait for Zach either. Like, he said it multiple times before. He has a website where people can connect. We got to do more as people. We can't all depend on Zach. I know I'm out every now and then teaching people. I try to get outside of my friend circle because, you know, they're pretty much set in their ways. I've already brought this to them. I brought this to my family. And you could only do so much with people you talk to. You could give them the information, you could give them the most simple things, and they don't click. And for me, I don't waste a lot of time. If the simple things don't click, I just move along because it's a waste of time. It's kind of like being online and sharing it. It's kind of a waste of time. There's always a chance that someone comes across it, but overall, I think it's a net loss. And I think people agree with that too, especially when you go on the CT's channel. Maybe one person finds it, but I mean, is that an impact? Like, what kind of people are watching CT? What are they going to do
This
to
is
help?
very true. This is very true.
Yeah. What are they going to do to help? Even if one person on there finds it, useful, they're watching CT for a reason, right? So, but yeah, I think the online impact, like, there's impact. The impact can be made, but it's so restricted now in 2026 with all the technology they have, all of the different algorithms and AI that they have to monitor keywords or
Right.
phrases.
Just even knocking out people's comments, just everything.
Yeah. Like, even I know a lot of people had this issue too. Like, certain things, if you try to super chat, it won't even let you send it, and that's giving them money. So you could see, like, depending on what the message is, they'll strike it down even if they're getting money from it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
some things like that are more impactful than even their income, that they're willing to lose money on that.
Right.
So yeah, just the main things I wanted to say was that, we got to get out in person. We saw the impact it had, and we saw the digital impact it had too, to your Patreon, when you got out in person, when you went across to New York, and how your Patreon was cut in half. And
Yeah.
I think that's kind of the start of when people started having a lot more issues with Patreon, as far as like getting notifications or not being able to pay with certain payment types, just
Right.
because of what you did.
Yeah,
in person.
well, and that's a reminder about this world we're heading into, where once they really do have us on this total digital system, you're going to be having way bigger problems in life
Yeah.
for essentially standing up for the right things, the whole social credit score system. Because in a sense, it's already kind of in place with things like that if you're in the digital world, but that is exactly what's going to happen to everybody who tries to do the right thing, unless things drastically change in this world. And right now, there's no real sign that anything's about to drastically change.
Yep. And just one last thing about school and children. Like, I'm 32, and when I was in school, even back when I was in school, like, being smart and being a quote unquote nerd was never popular. So you could imagine now, if you're that one smart outlier in the class, people look down on that, being smart. They think you're not cool. I think there's a kind of a silver lining there. Like, if you're smart and you're also athletic, like, let's say you play sports, people kind of accept you more if you're smart and you also
Correct.
play sports or do something
Correct.
else. So just a little thing there. I mean, my sister, she has a little nephew. He's a little bit older than one, and I see him every now and then. They live in another state, but you could see, like, how quickly children develop, even in a short amount of time. Like, after a week or 2 weeks, my brother-in-law and I were talking about it, and he's like, he could see the huge changes in his son just in 2 weeks, like how they can learn things, how their emotions change. They spent the weekend here, and he told me that his son just learned, like, so many words in just the last 3 days, just from being in a different environment. So
Right. Yeah.
that's where children's development is so crucial, and we all know that's the future, or hopefully, if we have a future, that's the future, that's what can change the future. But I think right now we're pretty much set. Like, people are not willing to learn. Another caller called a few days ago about how, I think he was 18 or something, and he's like, "Why are you doing this, man? People my age, nobody cares." And that's kind of true. Like, I would say 98% of people in that age range, they don't care about that. So don't care about improvements. But yeah, I think I'll leave it there. I just left the gym. I'm on my way home, so just trying to stay healthy. And people just keep sharing the work. If you're not sharing it in person, it's free to like the stream. It's free to share the stream link on your social media, and maybe somebody will come across. Maybe instead of saying like somebody, maybe the right person will come across, because people come across things all the time and it's just a regular person, right? They usually they don't do anything about it, or they don't even watch. But if the right person comes across, maybe something could be, a bigger impact could be made. But appreciate you taking the call, Zach, and I'll keep listening.
All right. Always good to hear from you. Open up. Thanks for all you do. Appreciate it.
Yeah, take care.
Yeah, take care. Yeah, I because we don't learn anything that really matters in slave school. Again, we don't really learn about health, how to manage wealth. We don't learn anything important. And what do we learn at any point really about the right way to parent and make sure that we're raising children? Because I know a lot of people have this idea that when your kid's little, they're not going to remember anything anyway, so it's not that important. But it's completely wrong. But a lot of people have this idea. There's so many things that really we should be focused on in our years in slave school. And anyway, we need to invent a new system, you guys. We have to do it. We got IDK, and then we got Justin. What's up, IDK? IDK, hello? Well, you're on here 2 times. Maybe one's the right one and the other's not. IDK, can you hear me now? Well, even times 2. It doesn't seem like they can hear me in either place. Let's go out to Justin. What's up, Justin?
Oh, hey. I wanted to continue on a conversation about the depopulation agenda, if you don't mind.
Okay.
So you said that you think that cabal is trying to get rid of as many people as possible because we are hurting the environment, right?
Yeah, I mean that's why they really push, the homosexuality thing and a lot of stuff. All this stuff has to do with depopulation.
Okay. Well, I think it was on one of your old streams, a guy called the Rainmaker.
Every time you come on, somebody comes to my door. I'll be right back. Hold on. Keep talking to the audience. I'll be right back.
Okay. Pretty much what I was going to bring up. We've had, pretty much my point is we've had weather weapons for a long time, over 100 years, ever since 1915. So if the depopulation agenda is really what they say it is, especially when it's really obvious, like you have Bill Gates coming out and saying, we're trying to get rid of people with vaccines. Like, I feel like that doesn't really make that much sense to me, because it's something super obvious in front of you. Oh, sorry, I didn't see you there. You're back. I was just going on a tangent. So the Rainmaker, I don't know if you heard what I said.
Well, I hear you talking about overpopulation and what Bill Gates said at his TED Talk in 2010. And, there's a lot of things out here, like the Good Club that talked about the world being overpopulated. And Bill Gates, of course, is part of that, along with Oprah and some other billionaires. But go ahead. What's the point you're trying to make?
So the point I'm trying to make is, since we had weather weapons in 1915, wouldn't it make more sense just to cause like a giant flood or something? Especially when we had 100+ years to really evolve the technology, if it was really about depopulation.
Well, I mean, is that within the capability? I mean, I don't know if they're capable of doing that.
I mean, I would say so. 100+ years of technological development. And I was like thinking the other day, that one like robot army thing, a scenario that I gave you, I feel like it wouldn't really take that much for them to develop, like especially now, like we see in Ukraine, like they have this C4 drone things or whatever. And I feel like we've had technology that is super advanced and stuff. Especially with weather weapons. If we had like 100+ years to develop it, I feel like there's like better ways to get rid of the population. I'm not saying that they're not trying to do something with us, because I'm not blind. I'm a Gen Z, and I see around my my fellow generational people or whatever. No one wants to have kids, pretty much. So there's something there for sure, but I don't know if it's exactly about depopulation, especially like climate change stuff. I don't think plastic bottles in like the ocean are an actual real world problem. Kind of like the same thing on how wars aren't really a real world problem. It's just like fabricated nonsense. And especially even with climate change, like we have an impact on the climate for sure, but I don't think it's as serious as they say it is, especially when it comes to like global warming or global cooling or whatever. Just because we have the moon, that's a certain distance away from from us and the sun and stuff, and we're able to see eclipses. So it's like there's obviously something there that's if they wanted the climate to be really bad, they would allow that to happen almost like if there's somebody overwatching Earth in a sense.
Well, I mean, you're entitled to your opinions, but I think there is a lot of trash, not just in the ocean, but everywhere. I mean, it's hard to walk anywhere without there just being trash everywhere. Next time I go to the park, I can show you how much trash is everywhere in this small town at the park. It's ridiculous. I mean, you can't walk a foot without a bottle cap, a part of a wrapper. I mean, there's just trash everywhere. It's not exclusive to where I'm living. And again, the oceans are full of trash. I mean, look at some of these third world countries where they don't have the cleanup mechanisms. Their shores are all full of trash and debris. And
Right.
yeah, I mean, I don't know how old you are, but just bird populations, it's obvious there's way less birds now than there was when I was a child. There was a lot more insects. There was a lot more birds. I feel like there's a lot of signs that the earth is not doing so hot.
Yeah, but I think that the point I'm trying to make is we have the capability. Like, if we really wanted to take care of the trash problem or take care of the homeless problem or et cetera, right? We would do that. But it's not what the cabal wants to do or whatever you want to say. I'm not saying it's not a problem.
The park I'm talking about is right across the street from the elementary school. I was thinking, you know what? Why not model good behavior to these students? Why don't they all go out as a group and part of the day, like almost like a short field trip, with some little kitty gloves on and a bag, and pick up all the trash all over, just as a reminder, hey, we did something great today. And when we grow up, we shouldn't throw trash all over this park. We should respect our park. I feel like that is the kind of stuff that should be going on in school, making a difference and learning at the same time how to not be part of the problem. Because obviously society didn't learn that. I mean, I'm not exaggerating how much trash is all over the place at this park. It's ridiculous.
No, I see what you're saying. But that's the thing. It's like if that's the case, if we're such a problem, like when it comes to trash and the environment, like, okay, why not just take us out with a weather weapon? Like, it would be the best way to do it. You just cause a giant flood.
Again, is that where the capability is? I mean, it's obvious they can set a place on fire like Lahaina or what they did in LA at the beginning of last year. I don't know if they can make the biblical flood happen. I don't think they can do that.
I think they can if they have over 100 years to develop the technology. Because how many people did the San Diego flood kill in 1915?
I don't know. I'd have to look it up.
No, yeah, I don't know either. I was asking. But yeah, I mean, it was significant enough to make an article about it, right? So, but yeah, I mean, I feel like it wouldn't be that hard to develop technology to make giant floods. I mean, we see that with the cloud seeding that just happened with that one guy. I can't remember his name, like Octavius or whatever his name is. So like that, it's obvious that exists and it's existed for 100+ years. So if they really wanted to, I feel like they could easily, depopulate us if that's what they really wanted to do. But I think that's what I'm trying to like get to the point. Like, I think the cabal, like they almost have like the keys to the candy shop in a sense, but they're not allowed to do whatever they want. Like there's certain rules they have to follow. And you can make, your assumptions of like whoever makes the rules, like the Anunnaki or whatever. But yeah, that's why I don't think it's not just about like depopulation, just trying to get rid of as many people. Like there is weird shit like plastic, xenoplastics everywhere and shit like that, and like taints growing smaller or whatever. Like that's a thing for sure. But I don't know if it's just about depopulation. There's probably some other like hidden agenda that we can't see.
Yeah, you could be right. Anything else you want to say?
No, yeah, that was it.
All right. Appreciate it, Justin. Thanks, man.
No problem. Yep.
Take care. We got TikTok. Can you hear me this time?
Hey, Zach.
How you doing?
I'm doing great. So back to the schooling thing. I was putting my daughter in Catholic school. I was paying for her education, and they wasn't teaching my daughter anything. So I had to homeschool. The person saying that homeschooling doesn't give children any type of social life is a lie. My daughter does track. My daughter does photography. You have to involve your children in social things as you're homeschooling them.
Correct. Correct. And really with homeschooling, you can be more efficient in the day instead of spending, as much time as you do in the school classroom. You can get it done quicker and you can be out doing all kinds of activities with groups and exactly get a better social experience.
As that, so to me, to me, especially for Ruby, seeing how fast she's advancing, I think that you taking the time to homeschool her and teach her the things that they're not teaching her in school. Like, for instance, my daughter was in the juice world. When I showed her your video about how he died by the numbers and all that stuff, she started to wake up. And my daughter's only about to be 16 years old.
Did you
So
show her how he said he was gonna fake his death after he got famous?
yes, I did.
Yeah,
Yes,
there
I
you go.
did. And she was so shocked and surprised, and she wanted to know what else was by the numbers. So I also teach her what I learned from you also. So it's not just regular school and stuff. I also teach her what I've learned from you. So that's how, to me, how we get our kids to open their eyes up before they even get a hint of the real world.
Yeah, exactly. Because these are who's again, you can do the best job as a parent, but the reality is culture does have probably at least equally as important of a role as the parent does, no matter how good the parent does, because the culture's just there, society's just there, and these people like Juice World, they influence the youth. Yeah, you show a youth one. Hey, did you notice that Juice World wrote this years ago? And then this little simple ABC 1 2 3 thing. The way he had that Twitter account, it equaled
Yep,
128, and then he just happens to die on December 8th after writing that.
yep. When I tell you her mind was blown, she literally watches your videos with me now, Zach. So it's like you have to incorporate stuff into your children instead of letting other people teach your children sometimes. I think this is the best. To me, COVID was the best time for me to take that advantage and take control of my child's schooling so I could teach her the real world on
That's
top
what
of
every parent
everything
should have
else.
done. A lot of parents didn't do that, and things became a mess. But yeah, you did the right thing.
So like I've been watching you for a minute. I've subscribed to your Patreon. I support everything that you do. I'm going to get, as I said to you, I'm going to buy your book again. But like I just really think that you homeschooling her would be the best thing for her right now, especially with the way things are going.
What I honestly think about though is every child right now needs better than what they're getting. Because I think about, yeah, of course I want to do the best for my daughter, but she's still growing up in a world. And if everybody else is getting the short end of the
That
stick, I
part.
mean, that's bad for her and everybody
That
else
part.
too.
Because when my daughter goes and tells her friends about Juice World, for instance, and they are just so out of the loop, they don't even grasp what she's saying. And once again, she's about to be 16. So for her to be able to grasp what she was supposed to grasp about Juice World, it's just it's just mind boggling to me that adults don't do the same thing. Like your work is fantastic. You've been at this for years, and I do nothing but support it. I just really think that, and once again, as I maybe open a school, maybe that'd be the next best thing.
Well, I know from experience it's a very difficult thing to do in Washington State. It takes a lot of resources. I'm going to look into it though, and maybe I should look into other states if it's too difficult to do in Washington State. Maybe we just need to relocate. So
Yeah, because I'm right now. I'm in Santana, Philly, and I know you've seen the video that went viral of the kids that couldn't read.
there's a lot of those videos.
Yeah, so here in Philly, these kids are not the future. I don't see no type of future with a lot of these kids. And
They
I
are the
work for Penn
future. No,
State.
that's what's scary. They are the future. That's what's
Yeah,
scary.
that's the scary part, that they are the future and they don't know nothing.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
don't know anything. So I just wanted to chime in about that.
Well, I appreciate that. Thanks for teaching your daughter the knowledge. That's a cool story.
You're welcome, Zach. Thank
All
you.
right. You have a good day. But yeah, that's what I mean. Just writing little, simple, short children's books about these. I think about it, you guys. Every time that one of these big celebrities has some weird death, I mean, isn't that almost a worthy series to kind of get home the point to children that maybe we shouldn't be worshiping these celebrities, and maybe we shouldn't be prioritizing becoming a celebrity, because how many of us as children grew up with the idea that we were going to be the next pro sports star, or movie star or singer. And granted, we all know why we want that, because it's fun. It's like essentially doing something that's fun and getting all the benefits of it, being rich and famous. And a lot of people want those things, but you realize what's actually going on the world stage. How many of these celebrities are out of here before they even make it to 30? I mean, a lot of them, they're into their 30s, just barely. Now they're dead, et cetera, et cetera. And it does make you wonder what's going on, this Juice WRLD thing. And you guys, don't forget, Juice WRLD died on John Lennon's birthday, and he used John Lennon lyrics in his own work. Or not John Lennon's birthday, I can't even think right now. Was it John Lennon's death anniversary? I think it's his death anniversary. I think he died on the same day as John Lennon. Yeah, Juice WRLD died on the same day as John Lennon and used John Lennon's lyrics in his own music. And yeah, I mean, that's why it's just so simple to teach this. The way his handle was, with all those extra D's, Juice WRLD 128 dies on December 8th, and wrote, "My goal is to get overly famous, shine for a couple of years, then fake my death." And you gotta love it's posted 44 minutes after the hour too. Another number connected to death and killing all the time. I'm gonna drop the link one more time. I thought Sweet Girl started to move around a little bit ago, and that's usually the sign she's about to wake up, but somehow she's still sleeping. So she can't be sleeping too much longer. So if you guys do want to get in here, now is the time. But yeah, I am just thinking more and more about, how do I figure out a way to open a school? And pretty much what I know about Washington State, I tried to help a woman open a school around the same time that I quit teaching, because I was thinking about being part of a new school, and she was an Asian woman who had quite a bit of wealth, but there was just too much red tape and too much getting nickel and dimed, and she gave up on the process. She wanted me to be the math instructor, and she had the same plan of starting small, starting elementary, and expanding as time went on. But I just saw how frustrating that process was for her. It doesn't mean I guess I should say I can't do it. But if I had a best-selling book out there and a ton of funds coming in, I know it'd make things a lot easier. We got Chris from Vegas back. But Chris from Vegas, if it is you, say something. I mean, don't just sit here like a mute. Chris from Vegas. If our school has a valet, I definitely get you, Chris. You could be the private school valet. All right. We're just gonna sit silently there. Okay. All right. Well. All right. If you guys don't want to come on here, we'll do the vote thing. The next book I put out will be my third book officially. Should it be for children, or should I finish the 201 book that I started on forever ago and never did finish? Children, or finish the last project that's unfinished? Again, you guys, even if you voted for the 201, I'd probably still do a children's book, to be perfectly honest. It's just, it's expensive to self-publish, and I'm pretty sure with the community that we have here right now, I would not sell many copies. And yeah, it's frustrating if you lose money, because a book is not an easy thing to do. And then to lose money, not a fun experience. You think the 201's the better choice? Well, the chat's definitely voting for the 201. Granted, that's because there's not any 5-year-olds in the room, but yeah. I'll eventually finish the 201 book. I have to rewrite the whole thing because I do want it to be small. I don't want some big, just nonstop. Because look how often these 201 things happen. I just, that's what happened to the book. I was trying to keep it small and then I started plugging in 201 this, 201 that. And I just thought the book got too big. This is not what I wanted. I wanted a nice, small, efficient read on why this number is important and not every last example. But then you feel like, oh my God, this example's so good, it's got to be in there. But that's what I realized. It's just like if you just teach the idea of this 201 and teach people how to recognize it, it should set in pretty quick that, yeah, they really are doing this all the time. We got High Rims and Thunder Dan. What's up, High Rims?
Yo, what's up, Zach?
Yeah, what's up?
Not gonna lie, bro. I feel like public school is like no kid should go to a public school. Like that shit is ass.
But a lot of kids don't have any choice, right? I mean, their parents can't afford private school. Their parents got to work. The only option's public school.
Yeah, like cause you never know who you're gonna meet, and then you end up taking their character, and then once you get a little older, now you moving how they moving because their parents were assholes. That's why I think every kid deserves to go to like a private school because the parents are more civilized and they got money and they know what they're doing. So they got like a little bit of manners in themselves. But if you go to like a public school, you're bound to like follow the wrong crowd. And most of the parents just, they never tell their kids how to behave. So kind of mess up your child.
You can end up with the wrong crowd in private school too. My nephews and nieces went to the most exclusive school in Portland, Oregon, and there's bad influences there too.
Yeah, but it's sad, man. Nobody wants to read. Everybody just wants to be on TikTok scrolling, And it's sad. Like I remember when I was a little younger, we used to be on YouTube and shit. We used to get ads about TikTok every day. I'm like, what is going on? But you realize they start targeting little kids to be on the app younger. So it's harder for them to like overcome, the addiction of the app. So
right.
It's sad, man. It's sad. But that's all I had.
All right. Well, I appreciate it. Thanks, High Rims.
No problem.
All right. Leopard Messiah, I would like for you to call in today. Leopard Messiah said every parent's job is to protect their innocence for as long as possible. I get that sentiment, but like I said the other day, if you do that, don't you also kind of help create the same problem we have in society where nobody knows anything about anything? And then it's like they always want to stay in that realm of ignorance is bliss and not really know anything that might challenge what they came up believing because they were essentially sheltered. Like I made the point, I wasn't sheltered at all. I don't think my parents were trying to enlighten me. It's just the environment I grew up in. And again, all things good and bad. I think ultimately it did help me out more. Let's get Thunder Dan in here. Thunder Dan beats.
Hey, Zach.
Hey.
Just calling in, support the show, and just want to say I appreciate you going live a lot and knowing that you don't have to because you're busy with your family. So I appreciate the work that you're pushing out.
Well, like I said, if my daughter can take naps, so far she's been taking naps. I'll stream during the nap. That's what we've been doing.
Right on, and props for being a great dad. Because that's important nowadays.
I appreciate that, and again, I'd encourage everybody out there. It's a lot of fun being a parent. It's a lot of work, but it's also a lot of fun. I'd encourage, and in hindsight, I wish I would have done it sooner because I'm kind of a grandpa dad. But yeah,
right on. Yeah, and but I work with the high school district and I work on the school buses with the special needs kids, and it's really amazing because not all of the special needs kids are the same. Like they're all different in their own ways. Some are high functioning, and some are a little more like sensitive to things. But these kids are smart, and it's just amazing to see them because a lot of them have smartphones, some don't. And then, but to know they're just not doing that well in class, and they are special needs, so the ratings are different or how they grade. I'm not sure exactly how, but it's just like I could just see the school system slowly like, closing down, like people aren't enrolling and now we're like figuring out like they're cutting down on budgets. So you could see how they're doing. And I see schools everywhere. I'm in Phoenix and of course, we're driving around and I see schools all over, man. So many schools and so many churches,
Thunder
and I'm
Dan,
starting.
just so you know, the internet cut out there for about 10 seconds. I think people stopped hearing you the same point I did. You were saying how you think people aren't enrolling in the school system slowly shutting down. It might have cut out for everybody right at that point.
Okay, so like they're clearly shutting down these schools slowly, and and then I'm here in Phoenix, so like we're driving around a lot on the school buses, and I see just so many schools too, all over the place, and churches, and when they open a church and they don't have to pay taxes and all this stuff, and it's like now I see why there's so many schools and churches all over it because they get all this money, but they're not really spending on what they need to help the kids out, really.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear that too.
And it's funny because I'm in Phoenix and you said you lived here for a little bit, and every time we get off or get on the highway or get off, I see that number 201. So it just like cracks me up when I see it every time I'm getting off the
When they
highway.
did the stadium renovation there for where the Suns and the Mercury play, they called it Event 201 or something like that, Project 201.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. Yeah, and then I don't know if you heard, well, there was a fire like the weekend before Mother's Day, and it was in Buckeye, a little up like uh more ahead in Phoenix, but I was driving straight all the way to it, and it was a big old flame, and it was actually very nice looking, but it was also kind of eerie because the sun was very red, and it just seemed like a very like ritualistic day. And then I ended up finding out that that fire was starting, and then it got big, but then as soon as that happened, the next day I saw a post on IG saying that Bill Gates was like had bought land out there and stuff. So now there's all these fires going on.
Interesting. Yeah, makes you wonder what's going on.
So clearly they're starting to do stuff here, like and get all their, whatever they need to do to get started on the smart cities or whatnot. And
Yeah.
I've been sharing the work a lot, and I've actually had a lot of people like starting to get to know the numbers because they've been watching NBA playoffs. And when they watch the games, I tell them, and then they come to me the next day wanting to know more. So I've been showing your channel. So hopefully that's
Yeah,
helping.
again, that's why if every sports fan had this knowledge, they'd be seeing the same thing we see day after day in these box scores. I mean, you just laugh at this stuff last night. San Antonio wins with 122 and their star has 41 points. I mean, these things are not rare. You pay attention, this stuff's happening day after day.
Yeah, and yeah, so whenever I'm out, I used to be like a big Diamondbacks fan, but I'll still wear my stuff and Sun stuff just to get people to start talking about it.
The other year in the 119th World Series, like they were in the event after 9/11 in that season, George W. Bush was the president who used to run the Rangers. Diamondbacks Rangers World Series ends 119 days after Bush's birthday in the 119th World Series, and of course he threw out the first pitch. I mean,
Going back to the 2001 World Series, like so obviously you said that was a rigged series, but it's just crazy how they were able to do it because looking like watching it, it was like you're not just to say it because the Diamondbacks were in it, but it was really one of the best World Series ever. So like to be able to rig that type of series is actually kind of impressive because that was a great series. I don't know how they did it. I don't know if each game was, but did you ever
you're
watch
talking
that
about
series?
2001, right?
Yeah, did you watch that World Series?
Yeah, I was at ASU. I watched my roommate across the way, this kid from New York, Stewart, rich kid, go out and buy 1,000,000 tickets and make a fortune off it. I
Wow,
said, this is how the rich get richer because I couldn't do that. I didn't have the money to go out and buy a whole bunch of tickets for the World Series and then resell them. But I was like, it showed me it's like,
no way.
yeah,
Wow,
his dad was some rich lawyer from New York, gave him a whole bunch of money to buy a whole bunch of tickets, and he sold them for a fortune.
that's crazy. Yeah, because that was one of the. It was a really good series, man. So it's just
Mhm.
really crazy to know. Like, I wish I could like be in those games and know exactly like when moments when they were gonna try to like move it a certain way. Because Diamondbacks were just a freaking great team that year. You know, they had all the vets on that team, and the Yankees weren't a bad team either. They just won like, three back to back. So I can see the how they were able to rig it, but it was just like, man, because each game was pretty good.
Brocious made the air. For me, it was a
Yeah,
small world
yeah.
because his brother
There you
was
go.
my science teacher in middle school. So
Wow. Small world. Yeah, and those two games or three games in New York was insane, man. But then again, when Bung Young Kim went in there, it's like, okay, when that first time when they hit that game winner and they lost it, but then you put him back in. Now that I'm thinking of it, I'm like, Bob Brenly puts Bung Young Kim back in there, and it's like, these guys are just gonna hit it out because they need that historic New York comeback in New York to win it, and so you can see the script. But it was an entertaining script, I got to say, that year. That's for sure.
indeed, indeed. Yeah, yeah, those managerial decisions that just really don't make any sense. Once you realize
Yeah,
it's rigged, you're like, no wonder. No wonder.
yeah. And then that whole moment when Bush was out there and threw that perfect pitch, I was like, oh, these guys are good, man. These guys are real good.
Yeah, you
Making this
remember it like
happen.
it was yesterday.
Oh yeah, because I remember I think I was in sixth grade at the time, and man, like, because my family was a big baseball fan, but watching those games, you're just a kid watching it, and your team's in it, and everyone's excited. But dang, it's like now that if I'd have known Gematria back then, I was like, oh man, I could have been calling games, man. Or
Yeah,
even
I
just
wish I
looking
would have
at the
known it back
script.
then. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Well, all right, Jack. I'll let someone else get on and appreciate the work you're doing. All right, appreciate it.
all right. Appreciate it, Thunder Dan.
All right,
Have a good one, man. See you.
peace.
All right. Hey, Leper Messiah, who's always contributing to the super chats. I read your comment a little bit ago. And yeah, I'm also reading Leper Messiah pointing out that, hey, man, there's a lot of good ways to make a living without going to college, which is totally true. If I could go back in time, I think what might have worked out great for my family is if I didn't go to college and I helped my dad do what he should have done. College can be useful if you're going to use your degree, but there are so many careers that you can do better than a college student, and you don't need a college degree. Just having some real skills, some real handy skills. The world of construction is full of money. You have something to contribute to the world of construction. So many skills there, and you can. In a state like Washington, you join one of these unions, and just as a builder, I mean, if you're helping build structures in Seattle, you're making $40, $50 an hour, and you can be doing that while your buddies are still at college. And when they get out of college, they're probably not going to make $40 or $50 an hour. Not to mention you're learning a real skill, and you save up your money. You're smart with your money. You could start your own little project, your own business, and make even better money than no time. But what I was going to say is something interesting was happening around the same time that I graduated from high school and went to college. It actually happened while I was in my freshman year of college. So had I been like a lot of other kids and maybe taken a year off or hadn't just gone straight to college, where my dad had worked from the time before I was born until it ended, my dad worked for a meat company in Portland, and well-established company, and for years a man ran the company, but he died around the same time I graduated from high school, and his son took over the business, and his son was embezzling money and ran the business into the ground in record time. Well, my dad, he was kind of the point person. My dad had worked there for a long time, and he's the one who went out and worked with the customers and brought in new customers and made the deliveries. They used my dad like a slave. My dad was a good slave. I couldn't believe when I saw my dad's tax return. I realized that he just worked for 20,000 even for like 20 straight years. No pay raise, more and more responsibilities and work. But what happened when the place went under is everyone knew my dad, and he was encouraged by some of the customers. They say, my dad's name is Tim. They say, well, Tim, just take over the business, open up a warehouse and just run the business. You know how to run the business. You essentially run the business right now. You do everything. And my dad's, my dad's always just so afraid to do it. And my dad will tell you, if you talk to him, he say, I need to work for somebody. Otherwise I don't stay motivated. But if he's working under somebody, he's like a good slave. So instead of starting the business or taking over the business, which he could have done, and maybe had I been around, I could have helped him do it. What he did is he took all the clients to their competitor that he also knew. And what they did is they offered my dad $80,000, which sounded great to him. That was 4 times what he was making. And the thing that happened was they didn't follow through. They didn't pay him the 80,000. I think he ended up making more like around 50,000 a year, which was still a major upgrade to what he was making. But they used him like even more of a slave. Trucks coming in at 4 a.m. Hey, Tim, go to the place and the truck's coming in. Oh, Tim, did you just go back to sleep? Because we got another truck coming in. Go back and get that truck. So my dad was just like working around the clock. I mean, he already slaved, but now he's just working around the clock. He didn't get the money that was promised to him. And he didn't give them a whole bunch of new business. The owner of that company was making way more money because now they had all the clientele from the company my dad worked for, which they had a lot of clientele. The son ruined the company. So yeah, I mean, I don't know exactly what that owner made, but I'm sure they might have brought in $1 million more in revenue, and they paid my dad $50,000. So, for them plus $950,000, had my dad, went out with a business plan, got a warehouse, set it up. I mean, it could have been done. It could have been done. And I always wonder, maybe had I not gone to college, maybe I could have helped him establish that. Granted, my dad didn't have a whole lot of money to his name, but again, you have a business plan, you can go out and get a loan and make things happen. And rather than, making $50,000 a year, he might have had $1 million revenue coming in a year and further growing the business. I mean, the one thing that's good about my dad is he works hard and he's good at working with people. But as he'll tell you, he's better at working under someone. But I always just think back, maybe had I not gone to college, maybe I could have helped him establish that. Maybe it would have been a great family business. That's not the way it worked out, so you can't dwell on the past. But for all you out there who are like my dad, again, you got to learn to be a self-starter and not need somebody to crack the whip for you to get up and do your job. I don't know why so many people are that way. It's definitely a flaw in a lot of people, including my father. I almost want to turn this video into a rant about my dad because he's making a really bad life choice right now. It's just unbelievable. Oh my God. I might save that for another time. Sometimes you just can't help people. Sometimes some people just can't be helped. But yeah, my dad, like almost every other American, probably didn't get as good of an education as they deserve. Not that I got as great of an none of us did. But again, I think a lot of us, had we received a better education, we would have done a lot better in life. And that said, you still can't make excuses. But yeah, more people definitely deserve a better education from a young age. It would set them up for a lot better future. And again, we really do live in a system where corporations, they pretty much run everything, and they want the average American to come out of that school system a certain way. Not totally retarded, but a useful idiot. Perfect for, bagging groceries, working the cash register. And sadly, we're now at a place where, they don't really need that anymore. They got robots and technology that can do all that. Amazon, over a decade ago, unveiled their store in Seattle where you don't even need people to check you out. The cameras and everything, just keeping surveillance, keeping track of every last product you take off the shelf, watching what you walk out the door with, and boom, you got a bill generated and they know exactly who you are and you better pay your bill. And see, that those are all the signs of where society's going. Because just imagine that being the future system, right? You guys, you go through the grocery store. You're tracked by cameras and AI the entire way through the process. You literally cannot get away with any kind of shoplifting or anything. You don't even have to interact with an employee. But when you go out the door with your bag of goods, bam, the store. You know that you probably have to sign a contract to go in the store. You're hooked up to your electronic bank account or whatever it is, and boom, they make the perfect deduction. Yeah, if you guys aren't aware of how those Amazon stores have been going now for, I want to say it launched in 2018. I know it was sometime around then. It might have even been before that. But yeah, Amazon in Seattle, they launched the store. No cash registers, nothing. It just knows exactly what you took and exactly what you owe. Leper Messiah. What are you? What are you, shy? Are you shy, Leper Messiah? Come on, Leper Messiah. You're one of the most generous people on the channel. I want you to come on here and talk about what you said about, is it the most important thing for a parent to keep their child hidden from the evils of the world for as long as possible? Because, I mean, it's not that I all the way disagree with what you're saying, but this goes into another related conversation. I mean, if we are starting a new school system and trying to educate youth to be better people and take on the problems of the world, can we just keep them in the dark for as long as possible? Is that going to work, or is that going to go against the plan? You know what I mean? At what age should you start to learn about the problems of the world? See, and it's not to just teach them that so that they feel disillusioned. Oh my God, what's the point? It would be to teach that there are these real problems and they need solutions. And you know who's going to bring the solutions? You are. You're going to be the generation that solves the problems. That's the way I see it. And I know when I was teaching 5th grade, I was cluing these kids into some things. And I know that we had some really great conversations and they liked it. They were super intrigued. So I think it can be done without making them go like, oh my God, parent, take me to the pharmacy for some antidepressants. Or if Leper Messiah doesn't want to come on and talk about it, maybe somebody who wants to represent Leper Messiah's opinion, or even the counter opinion. But yeah, I need some of you guys who are around here all the time to start participating in the live stream. If you guys are so shy to participate, or you're worried that you're going to sound nervous or something, that's a skill you can work on today. Public speaking is a very important skill. If you are not willing to speak publicly, you're going to limit yourself. Public speaking is important. Well, I mean, I understand that the average American is terrified of public speaking. They say it's even scarier for most people than heights. And I hate heights. But yeah, I'm telling you, public speaking is something that everybody should aim to be halfway decent at. How else are we going to get people out on the streets of America talking about the most important issues of our time? Like I said to you guys, if everybody had been out doing what we were doing in Seattle and Washington State, if everybody's out doing that, we might be living in a whole lot better world right now when we're out there exposing Event 201 and Cooties 19 before it even really got out there. If everybody had been doing the same thing, might be a whole different world. How you doing, Sally G?
Hey, Zach. Thank you for all you do. Really appreciate the information. I logged on, I think like 5 minutes ago, but I did hear you discussing your dad and um, the slave institution that we have. It reminds me of the fight that I had with my partner this morning. I'm 39 and he's around the same age, and he like wants to go back to school, which I think school is a big scam. It's just one more way to pay into the system. It's like pay to play in a way. And I think that you kind of need to have your ducks in a row to enter that system. But I was just like, why would you go to school and then get a slave job when you could learn skills that are going to be necessary for like the world that we're going into? And it's just like completely going over his head. He doesn't seem to like understand. It's like I'm speaking to a foreign language to him. But yeah, it totally resonates with me. And regarding when we should teach children this information, I think that children should be taught this kind of from the very beginning. As soon as you are having any kind of like conversation with a kid, which starts pretty young, like even if it's one-sided, I think that you could be dropping this information Um, I know you don't like David Icke. I do. And this morning I was listening to an interview with him, and he was talking about, as soon as kids are able to understand this, we should start teaching them that everything, like our vision, only we're only really able to interpret um, a certain amount of things that we see just because of the visible light that our eye is able to interpret. So we should be telling children right away when they're able to understand, like there's more to this reality than we can see. um and I totally agree with that. Kids should get this information early. You should not be trying to keep a child safe from the evils of this world. I mean, to an extent, you don't need to be telling them everything, of course, but like I felt I felt wildly unprepared for growing up in this world. Um, and I wish I would have known the true nature of reality, at least more so that people, people aren't kind and loving as I may. They're not everyone's going to be the way I am. um I don't need to be told everything, but I could have it would have been nice to know that people will be trying to take advantage of you, they'll be lying to you. Yeah, I think all that's important.
Yeah, and well, the things you're talking about there, I mean, I always imagine if we grew up in a different type of slave school system, if you will, where the first few years were dedicated to why it's important to be honest and helpful and cooperative and paint pictures of, look, here's what a cooperative community looks like. Here's how everyone benefits. Here's how it looks when people lie to each other and steal from each other and the problems that are created. I feel like these pictures should be painted just so that they can understand, like, okay, I don't want to live in a place like that. And yeah, I want to live in a place like that where people work together and help each other out and all benefit from it. Because yeah, synergy is a real thing. And again, you live in a community where people are in a really bad spot and to feed themselves, they have to rob their neighbor. You know how that ends up looking in no time. So yeah, and about your partner, maybe get them to look into where the shortages are of there's a lot of shortages of basic labor that are needed that have good salaries. Like I said, I mean, anybody willing to relocate to Washington State and get in construction, I know that you can get into that job pretty quick and make a lot better salary than you'd probably make after getting a college education. So
Yeah. Well, we live in Washington State, but also I don't think people should. I think construction, you know, you're breaking your back.
well,
And I don't
that's true. That's true. But I mean, if you take care of your body and eat well, you don't. If you're not in shape, you could hurt yourself. I mean, that is true. But
I
it's
don't know.
like my
I've
friend
seen
Henry. He's in his 50. He's about 50 years old now. He takes great care of himself. He's just fine. He's got a great physique. He works construction. So
mm, yeah, I've heard you mention him before. Um yeah. Oh, there's your
oh, that's
baby.
my daughter. I need to get Ruby. I'll be right back. Ruby. Sweetheart. Mr. Duck, Mr. Duck. Ruby, my girl. Sorry about that, sweetie pie. Whew. Okay. You still there, Sally?
I'm still here. Yes.
Okay. I was slow on the response. She doesn't like that.
Yeah.
Was there anything else you wanted to share?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Well, I hope you and your partner can reach some common ground on the next chapter. And
Yes, we will.
for the record, I mean there's plenty of good things about David Icke. I feel like he's part of the system at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, Sally.
right.
Thanks for all the support.
Yep. Thank you.
All right, take care.
All right. Bye.
All right, we got Jay, we got Jason, we got Gematria32. What's up, Jay?
I wasn't even gonna call in at first, but I just wanted to call in to make the point that because a lot of people are, and this is how I was thinking, that they're like, oh well, why would you go to school and be in debt, and when you could just do this, and just like, yes, that is right, that is true, but the issue is that there are also, and this is one thing that I discounted and I didn't really start to like realize it until later on. There are also things that school can give you as far as experience goes, that are beyond just like, learning and getting a good job and stuff like that you can still take with you further along. And I didn't really pay that much attention to that until like really right about right about now, like earlier this year. And it's because I had a job where I was making the most money that I ever made. Financially I was straight, but then it was also like a very isolating job. I was the most isolated that I ever been in my life. And then because of that, I was miserable. And the stress from that isolation and other things that I was going through at the time, that I wasn't able to get an escape from, because, I was at home and I was, helping, having to help out family and all this other stuff. I didn't really, get to, looking back, it's like I kind of wish I would have went to college as soon as I could. I was going to, but I was the class of 2020, and I didn't. I had to hold off on going to college, at least in person. But by the time I had the opportunity to go back to college, I was 20 years old, and go to actual college. I was 20 years old, and I was already deep in work, and I was obsessed with making other things work. And I just like, well, what? I'm just gonna grind, and I'm gonna get the money myself, and that is valid, and that's what my plan always was. But what I never considered to think about is not having, I guess you could say, not having the experience that I wanted, or feeling like, as far as actual enjoyability goes, I didn't get to, like, I never really got to enjoy my early 20s. Since 19 to now, I was just working, and I was and if I wasn't working, I was on leave because of health issues. So it's like, because of that, I never really got to enjoy my early 20s. So I kind of wish, and it led to me getting fired and all this other shit. And I had to, when I got a new job, it was paying well, but then, like I said, it was also very isolating. So because of that, it's like, even though I know for the most part, like, it's they're getting you to pay into the system, and it's a pay to play game. A lot of people are also thinking emotionally about wanting to go to school and just have that experience, and that's where I found myself these past couple of months, because I just turned 24, and then it's like I'm looking back and I'm like, damn, like, I'm about to be 25, and and all I have to show for it is, okay, I was busting my ass for fucking almost 5 years, and I don't really have anything to show for it because I was, dealing with health issues half the time, and I didn't even get to have any experience that I thought I would have, and I probably would have been more successful at that if I would have just, listened to my family and just went to school. I might still be, in the same predicaments as far as financially and shit like that, but at least I would have had a better experience. At least I would have, probably could have came out with some better relationships with people instead of, trying to like just brute force my way with, grinding and hard work. So it's like now it's like I'm still stuck on whether I want to actually go to college or not, or whether I want to go to school or not. Just at least, even if it's just for like once a 1 year or one semester, just to have that experience and like not have any regret. So
Well, you know what I already told you, and
yeah,
technically you're still in your early 20s. Yeah, you're a little bit behind, but it's not going to make that big of a difference in the scheme of things. So yeah, I'd say go for it.
yeah. But I just wanted to make that point that a lot of people, and then this is really my main point that I wanted to lead into. Then I'll dip out. But the reason I wanted to make that point is that a lot of people know they're putting themselves in debt, but they're willing to sacrifice it because a lot of people are probably in my same situation where they probably didn't get to have, the type of childhood, that type of experience when they were like the traditional college age. Maybe they got bombarded with shit. Maybe they were in the same class of 2020. And they feel like they got set back behind socially, and they just want to have that. They just want to be able to have a different experience. Like, even though strategically and logically, if they were just like, if I was just worried about money, then yeah, well, of course. Like, but the issue is that when you're just worried about money, you don't allow yourself to enjoy certain things. And me being only worried about money, it didn't lead to a more enjoyable life. I ended up being more isolated, and I tried to cope about it by saying, well, I finally have the money to do this, I finally have the money to do that. And then what ended up happening is I got so depressed and so stressed from the isolation, everything else got tarnished, as a result, because certain things got triggered and stuff like that, and I ended up getting a setback anyway. So it's like, it doesn't really mean anything if you're still, and this is in the case of my experience, if I'm still crashing out, if I'm still miserable, if I'm still having, if I was still having, suicidal thoughts and stuff like that. So it's like that will also be the reason. And the main thing is that the main point and the main reason why I mentioned that is because people, ideally we should live in a society where people shouldn't have to choose between being financially stable or emotionally stable. If we already live in a society, I say the same thing every time. We already lived in a society that was more community based instead of being individual based. People wouldn't even have to worry about a lot of these things, and a lot of the core issues to these major societal new age fucking issues. It would be solved. It wouldn't even be a thing. If we all emphasize the sense of community that our ancestors used to emphasize, because
Yeah.
that's what a lot of that is in college. Like, you can't really get any of that anywhere else unless you get lucky and find a good job. So that was my point. And a
Yeah.
lot of people
Well,
just want
hey,
that
just do
experience.
it. Instead of worrying about
So
that you're a little bit behind the curve, just do it. Like a lot of people are in the chat
yeah,
saying, man, you're only 24.
yeah,
Yeah, you could have started, 6 years ago, but you didn't. And it's not that big of a deal, really,
yeah,
because a lot of people would love to go back and be 24 and be in your shoes right now. Look
yeah,
at me. I mean, I'm old enough for this could be my granddaughter. I waited, I wish I would have done this 20 years ago rather than now as a guy in my middle ages. But
yeah,
even though I probably waited too long, it's still a good experience, and that's what college will be for you too. So,
yeah. All right,
all right, Jay, always good to hear from you.
all right. Appreciate it.
All right, take care. What's up, Jason?
Hey man, how you doing, Zach? Can you hear me?
Loud and clear. How you doing?
Oh man, I'm doing all right, I suppose. But due to the subject, I just happened to realize that today is 6 years to the day since I got laid off from my job.
Huh.
And I haven't worked a day since. That's
Huh.
the day that I checked out. And, you know, I wouldn't be able to do that if I hadn't have done the right things when I was young, you know? So for all the younger people listening, instead of going and buying the latest iPhone and all the stupid gadgets and all the bullshit, start putting your money away, you know, at least a percentage of it, you know, every paycheck and everything. And, you know, I haven't really, my house will be paid off in 4 years. I own a couple cars, motorcycles, you know, I pissed a lot of money away. So I'm, you know, here I'm calling the pot black, kettle, whatever. But, you know, when people buy toys and things like that, you become a slave to it, you know, especially like cars and things like that. The more things that you own, now it's more bills, stuff like that. You know, the people that want to go buy the biggest house that they can afford, well, you better be ready for the taxes that comes with it, and the heating and the air conditioning and all that and all the upkeep, you know. So if people just start, you know, living a modest lifestyle and saving their money, then they won't be a slave to it, you know. And I never went to college, and I got a good job after a while, you know. And what I would recommend to everybody is, when you get yourself a decent job, do good at it, you know, because if you do good at it, whether you hate it or not, if you do good at it, you're building up a record, you know. And then when you want to move on, you can use that job as a stepping stone. If you go get a job and you're an asshole and you're not doing the right things, well, that's not really going to be a good resource for you to, you know, recommend you to get a better job. So if you just do what you need to do, forget what your friends are doing, forget what everybody else is doing. You know, who cares if your neighbor has, you know, donk wheels on his car and this and that, and they're going on cruises and things like that. You just got to forget about that. Shut that stuff out, because that's not you. And you might not even realize it, but you might not even want to do those things if the draw wasn't there. So, you know, the people just need to focus on themselves and, you know, I guess put their money away and sacrifice today for what you can maybe have tomorrow. Like I said, it's nice, man. I slept until 5 o'clock today. You know, not to brag, but I was up late and everything, man, you know, and I live on my own schedule. I do what I want. I don't have to listen to nobody telling me what to do. And, you know, it's actually comforting. It's refreshing. But guess what? I'm still living modest right now, because all the things that I used to do, I used to take money for granted. And now I basically, hey, I just seen somebody, Takashi in the chat said, Leo. Yeah, right, dude. If he only knew. Zach can tell you that I'm not a cop, dude. Oh my God, I fucking hate
Yeah,
cops.
he's definitely not a cop.
Yeah, dude. So, basically, all the shit that I used to do, I used to go out to the bars all the time, you know, picking up on the women and doing all that shit. That's another thing, man. Women, that's a whole big money drain right there. Sorry for the ladies listening, but man, dating is just a huge money drain. You know, if you're trying to sit and impress somebody and you're going out all the time and dinners and all that shit, that's a huge money drain. But I used to go out to the bars. I used to build cars and stuff, you know, custom cars. I've had a whole bunch of different cars, and all that shit was just a waste of money, you know. And now, yeah, I got a nice car in the garage, but I've only driven it 3 times so far this spring. And it's just, I know that I don't have an endless money supply, but guess what? I have enough to where I can draw money out, pay all my bills, and I'm not even going backwards. You know, the interest that I'm making on my investments and everything, I don't have to worry about shit right now until the market crashes. Then maybe something will change. But if I start being stupid about everything, well, then guess what? Then I'm going to start going backwards and I'm going to end up screwing myself. So, it's just about being smart with what you have and don't worry about what other people have. Just think about yourself, think about your future, and I mean, that's kind of about it, dude. I don't know.
For the young people in the chat saying that things are tougher for you young people, things are ridiculously expensive. It probably is harder to save and get ahead as much as everything costs. And sadly, those are the consequences of the adults in the room never standing up to the tyranny going on. I mean, I saw this stuff coming a million miles away.
Oh, right. Yeah, I did too. And and it's getting worse. So, I still live around where I grew up. And the shit that I see changing around here, all these flock cameras and everything they're putting up everywhere, all this shit that's going on. And I know you and I have talked about this a bunch of times back in the day, Zach, where it's not North Korea or Iran or Russia that's going to come after us. It's our own government. I mean, all these things that they put in for your safety, it's all going to be used against everybody. All the things with the police, all this shit. And so when they have all this AI and they're building these data centers, the data centers aren't being built so that they can make you funny cartoons with AI. It's so they could store all your files, all the shit, your whole profile, everything about you. That's the problem. And what's sad is I kind of almost helped build that shit, man, back when I was working. So I understand how it all works. It's all surveillance. And the more and more that we keep going down this path, the less and less freedom we have. And the listeners don't know my story, but I've been fucked by the cops. We don't have the rights that we think that we do. And it's just getting worse. The government gets away with all their bullshit. How many crimes have we seen our government do and get away with? Nothing happens to them. But boy, I tell you what, you spit on a sidewalk or jaywalk, and they're going to come after you and they're going to hold the charges up on you, and they don't give a fuck. And the more people that get involved in that whole net, they're going to keep on nailing you. If you, I don't know, you get any kind of crime or conviction or anything, now you're on probation, and now your probation will tell you can't eat fucking cereal on a Tuesday morning or whatever it is. It's just a big thing to keep you caught up in it. And now we start speaking out and saying shit online. Well, they know what you're doing. And one of these days, when you start getting too nasty or they don't like what you're doing, well, guess what? They're going to shut off your fucking money supply, or you're cut off your health care and things like that. And they're watching everything that we do. They're putting in these flock cameras everywhere and they're tracking people. They can track your car, whether you take the plates off of it or not, because it's all the AI shit. And your cell phone, all these smart devices, even the little light bulbs that you can have turn on by themselves. All that shit's listening, man. Your fucking cable TV box. Your TV can watch you in your own living room. They got so much surveillance on all of us. And it's just coming down to that day when they implement it all. People are going to be like, whoa, what the fuck just happened? So it's sad. And I agree. The younger people, I do feel bad for you guys because things aren't how they used to be. In fact, things aren't even, like I tell my mom all the time, you lived in the golden age. You had everything that you could have ever wanted. That was speaking to my mom, and it was tougher for me. I was at the tail end of it, as you were, Zach, but like a lot of the people nowadays, think about it. The people that were born after 9/11 are going to be turning 25 soon. And the world that they grew up in, it's all virtual shit. They're told what to think. They're guided on what's important. When me and Zach were kids, we ran around outside. We got into fights and we played sports and we intermingled with other kids and things like that. And like for me, I grew up in the inner city where it was kind of dangerous and shit. You had to kind of learn who you can trust and who you can't trust and who to watch out for. You had to figure things out. I'm Gen X. I'll be 52 in like 3 weeks, dude. So I'll be finally playing with a full deck, and so growing up like that, I decided what was important to me. It shut off the TV. You know, I watched like Dukes of Hazzard or Chips or some shit like that, man. And then it was time to go out and run the streets, you know. And I went to an open school, so I didn't get the best education. And then, you know, a public high school, all that type stuff. But these kids now, everything that they know about the world is what they're getting off of their devices, and their device is guiding them on what's the latest subject, you know, like the Grammys or the Oscar or whatever the sports game was, you know, and then everybody sits and talks about that. That's the only common ground that people can find, is what they read on the internet, the latest internet story, you know, whether it's Trump shit or anything like that. And as Zach proves every day, it's all scripted bullshit. But they're using that scripted bullshit to guide the minds of people to sway you away from what's important, you know, and like your neighbors and people around you. That's what's important, you know. I mean, I don't know, dude. I don't want to sit and prognosticate shit. But hey, one idea, my neighbor, she knits blankets. She started knitting blankets, and she's making fucking bank doing that, dude. She sells them for like $200 a piece. She goes to these craft shows on the weekends, and she'll make $600-800, you know. So, and she's just sitting at home doing it. So if there's people that want to, you know, extra grind money or something like that, if you got
Get good at something. That's the point. Get good at something and make that your living.
Right.
Yeah. There's a lot of people selling arts and crafts. They find something that people want, they're good at it, and boom, they sell it.
Right.
You know, my mom, she makes wreaths, and for a while that was doing well. When I put my book up for sale on Etsy, it killed her Etsy business. That's kind of how this social crediting works. Me putting my book on Etsy ruined my mom's business, which is sad. But the point is, you know, she learned that she was good at making wreaths. She developed the skill at age 60. You shouldn't even know she had it in her. And all of a sudden she found out she could make better money from that than cleaning houses. There's a lot of ways in this world to make money. Get good at something.
Right. But you see how that repercussion happened to you and your mom, and that's before all this shit's about to go down. So
well,
they punished
it's
your
already
mom.
going down, but it's going to get a lot worse.
Oh, exactly. So I know of a guy he's an internet guy. He did videos all the time for a long time, and he decided, you know what? This guy actually used to open up restaurants, and he would manage the restaurants and then sell them and things. Well, this guy, he basically decided, I'm going to go and get a regular 9-to-5. So he was one of these guys that used to go and hold the government people accountable all the time. And he'd hold their feet to the fire, and they started to know him. And so he went and decided he was going to go get his CDL license and drive semi-truck. And he got a company that like sponsored him to go and do it. And so he did all this stuff, studying, testing. He passed all their shit. All he had to do was go and get his stuff from the DMV. Well, guess what? The people at the DMV, they knew full well who he was, and they hated him because he would go there. He sued them before. And so they didn't like him. And as soon as they saw him in there, they pulled the guy aside that he was with from the company, like the HR guy or whatever. And that was it. They basically fired him. So he hadn't even really started the job, but they fired him because of his history of holding the DMV accountable. So that's where we're heading. If you're not a good little boy or girl and you don't play by the rules they set for you, well, they're going to put up roadblocks every which way they can, and they're going to screw you over so that you'll comply. And it's just like 1984, man, you know, and we're like entering it right now. So if any of these people listening can find their own grind, I'd strongly recommend you do it. Start building relationships that aren't on fucking line, you know. I mean, start meeting people, go do stuff, you know, and find like-minded individuals, and hell, you might find job opportunities that way. Because back in the day, there was no internet when I was a kid, and all of this stuff that I've seen happen, especially since 9/11, I mean, the way that they're using the government and making all these laws all the time, they keep making more laws and more laws and more laws. And then guess what? Now, 10 years from now, they'll make another law where they're actually going to use that law they passed 10 years earlier. And then everybody will be like, oh, shit, that's why they wanted to do that. I mean, it's sad. It really is.
Jason, I think Sweet Girl's letting me know. I'm surprised how long she's gone for without fussing more, because I know she's got to be getting hungry. But
all right, man. Well,
congrats
nice
on 6 years of being your own man.
Yeah, let's see how it'll last.
All right, yeah, she's ready to go. All right, Jason, always good to hear from you. Take care.
All right, take care.
All right, take care. And we have another Zach in the back. Zach, I gotta feed this little one, but do you want to share something?
Yeah, just real quick. I seen a lot.
I'll be right back. Go ahead and share. I'll be right back.
Sure, yeah. A lot of this conversation I've noticed is based around money. I think what we have to do is focus on what is true wealth, which is our health, our community, right? So that's what I think people should be learning. It's nice to, it's important to learn skills that will feed your family, right? If you can get a job or whatever, but there are more, we don't know what's coming, basically, is my point. So I wouldn't invest everything in trying to make the most money, because there comes a day where the dollar falls, right? So what is truly useful, right? Growing your own food. How can we sustain ourselves? If there's food shortage, if there's economic crash, how can we sustain ourselves through that? That's sort of the thing I've been thinking about lately. How do I grow my own food? How do I make sure that I have all the systems in my house that I need if there is a power outage, right? We hear these things about the power going black. But yeah, that's my main message. Didn't want to get on here and preach too much, but get healthy. Don't rely on all these things that we think we need. Stick to the essentials. Grow fruit, grow vegetables, feed your family. That's my main thesis here.
Well, I missed a lot of it, but I got the end part, and I like it. Yeah, I do think we need to get a lot more local, family-oriented, growing our own food, just like our ancestors did. The world was a lot more sensible place back then. So the further we get away from nature, the more humanity suffers, so it seems.
Exactly. We don't have to deal with all these pesticides and poisons they're trying to shove down our throats, right?
Yeah. All right, Zach. Good to hear from you, man. Appreciate it.
Yep, of course. Have a good day.
Yeah, you too. All right. All right, truth seekers. Ruby and I are signing off, and I didn't see you guys vote. You want the 201 book over children's books, but I think I'm going to try children's books. Okay, I'll finish the 201 book someday. It's just, I've been here educating about 201 for what, better part of the last decade, and it's not like it's made people come to the work, unfortunately. DK, you got to be quick because I got to get off for the little one.
Come to the work. Okay. I was just gonna say.
Hold on, DK. I'm heating up her bottle right now, so I need to go take that off the bottle warmer. Hold on. I'm setting it up here so that you can talk into the mic. I'll try to listen from the other room while I get her food ready. All right, go ahead.
This is kind of just in response to you were asking on the other show, what age or what time should we start teaching the kids or whatever. And then now you're talking about starting a school. It's funny because for the longest time already, I'm like, when the world is ready, I'm going to start, the DK school for, what was it called? Very similar to the Professor X one in the X-Men movie. What was the school for gifted children or something like that? But mine would have been more like something like for, remedial adults or something like that. And I'm like, but the world's just not ready. There's just, people aren't even at like grade 1 and you're going to try to start a college. It's just, there's this, the gap in between is just so big. As far as the children, like your own children, what age should you start teaching them? I always thought that parents should just talk, and kids pick up on everything. So like, there's no age to start. It's just if that's part of the parents' like daily life and how they live, the child's just going to pick up on it through their conversations in the household and just the regular daily things that they're doing. You know, you wouldn't necessarily really have to like get together with your wife and say, okay, you know, like next week we're going to start teaching them like the truth or something like that. You know, I don't think it would be any like clear cut black and white time like that. I think it should just be, I mean, you know, very similar to like your pets, you know, they're like, you're not just going to just bog down on them. You got to train them a little bit like every single day. And then, you know, pretty soon after 6 months to a year, they like listen to everything, you know, they're just kind of keep, you know, repetition, just like, you know, the mind control works on repetition. And then to elude what this last caller was just talking about, what is actual wealth. And, you know, he's completely right. The thing is, you know, for the longest time, there's been not many jobs out of cities. So people were pushed into cities to work, you know, to like make money. Were trying to live out in the boonies somewhere. You needed to be like in the upstart community and then work like in the construction where you're like building it up, or else how you going to make any money? And then once you're in these cities, you know, everything got shrunken down. We used to have yards and growing all our own food and our own chickens and everything. And now we just got nothing. And, you know, I was just watching some guy did a good video about how that was all done in America. There's of course, a fake Jewish guy named Levitt, started it over there in New York somewhere. They bought like 4,000 acres of some like jacked up farmland where like, you know, some type of locust attacked the potato crop and basically so they bought all this stuff and they started the first tract homes. And they had like all these like behavioral engineers and social engineers figure out what they could do inside the home, change it up to mess up like the family unit at first. You know, they had all these different rooms, like the family would go in, then after dinner, everybody would go in and watch the TV for their regularly scheduled programming. And then slowly they started opening up the kitchen to the dining room. You know, it really went through a good explanation of how it was done. Like every 10, 20 years, they made a major change within just the floor plans of these tract homes they were putting everyone in. And when everyone came back from the war, it was like 45 or whatever. There were 5 million new homes needed all of a sudden, just like the next day. So, I mean, these guys, soldiers that they were sleeping on floors and barns everywhere. So they just started building these tract homes really fast and transformed Americans living into tract homes within like basically like 10, 20 years. Everyone was right in tract homes.
And most of the homes were about 800 square feet, which is quite interesting to think about in light of how people live today.
Yeah, now it's 2,200, I think it is.
Right, almost 3 times bigger.
Right, and they had way more children in the homes back then, so the homes got bigger and everybody got more segregated, and all the outside, your yard and your garden, everything just got smaller to non-existent, you know? So there you go, taking away your wealth without, you know, your house is worth more, like what the guy was saying, what's real wealth? Your house is worth more, you know, bigger rooms inside, but really you've got nothing. You got just like square walls that can't feed you that are bigger, you know?
Yep.
Anyway, let me know when you're getting ready to start that school. I would be interested in, you know, playing a part in that. I don't know exactly how we would do that in person, you know, whether it'd be better to do it online or what, or do we have to do it in person in our area?
I can't do it online. I don't want an online school. I don't think that's...
Yeah, because there is something, you know, I know it's like when I go to the park and everything and I'm there and like these other people's kids are more interested in what I'm doing and saying than what their own parents, you know what I mean? Like you have to be there in order to your charisma to really come through, you know?
Correct.
Anyway, I just saw you were on and caught the last maybe 20 minutes of it right there. I was catching up on 2 speed, so.
All right, DK, always good to hear from you.
All right, Zach, talk to you soon.
All right, take care.
Bye.
That's it. All right, and we got Sebastian, and then I need to wrap it up. What's up, Sebastian?
Hey man, what's up? So something that I wanted to bring up. So, if you just look this up on Google, if you look up the percentage of adults who can't read below 6th grade, it's 54% of adults and 21% in the U.S. And in the U.S., 20% can't read below a 4th grade level. So they're like actually people are actually completely illiterate. They can't read like at all, basically. And yeah, I wanted to bring that up. The other thing was also about YouTube. If you at the end of the videos when you upload them, you can add an end card, which will like YouTube will recommend another one of your videos at the end, and that improves
I
how
do
much.
that, but what YouTube does to me a lot of the time is they keep the video in processing for a day or a day and a half. And then so I can't until it gets out of that mode. And then by that point, the video is already dead. About as quick as it ever happens is about an hour after the video I can add it. And I do in those cases, but a lot of times they'll just keep my video in processing for over a day. So I can't do that. Yeah, trust me, I know.
You can auto add it. You can set it up that it'll automatically do it when the video publishes.
Really?
And you can do it for live streams too. So and it'll just be like automatically on all your videos.
Well, I need to figure out how to do that. I thought it was something you had to wait till the video processed.
Gemini's is really good at like if you ask it stuff about any of Google's, anything that Google owns, like Gmail, their YouTube search, their reviews, anything. You ask it like, how do I get higher in the algorithm? How do I do? Ask Gemini thinking, and like since it has access to all of Google's documentation, and since it's trained on all their documentation, like it knows how the algorithm works. And I saw some guy, he was able to get like to the number one on the search left. Like he was actually not in the search at all in Google, and then his business went to number one just by asking Gemini like how to optimize it. So you can get a lot out of that. And also Tesseract is about to come out, the software that I'm working on. If you don't know what Claude Code is, I think that you were talking about it, how you're they used it at your wife's work. It's going to have all those features standard. Plus, it has multi-agent support, like clustering of computers. You can, I'm adding like a VR and like all kinds of features. I am super, super, super excited for this. I think it's like really, really going to blow up, and it's going to be open source. And yeah, it's going to like, it's going to fast track like this research in my channel, and you can use it too. And everybody can use it. So it's going to be pretty exciting. I think that this is going to like really break out, because OpenClaw did pretty well, but this is like a whole other dimension of functionality added to the AI. So I don't want to say the other features just because I don't want someone else to steal it, but yeah, I'm pretty excited for that. So yeah, that's all I had for now, but yeah, it'll be done by Friday, definitely.
All right, I'll look into all those things, because yeah, I thought you always had to wait till the video was over, but there must be some setting, some way for it to auto do it. Okay, good tip.
Yeah, that was what I had. I had never done it manually.
Okay, I'll look into it.
All right, see you. Bye.
All right, take care, buddy. See you. All right, Truth Seeker. Yeah, it's dinner time. I got to make her something besides milk. So appreciate everyone who hits the like and the share. Thanks to everyone who supports the channel, and thanks to everyone who called in today. Until next time, Truth Seeker.